The world did not wake up to a single announcement. It woke up to a shifting balance of power. A quiet diplomatic exchange between Washington and Beijing has now escalated into a global strategic alert centered on one of the most critical energy corridors on Earth, the Strait of Hormuz. At the heart of this developing crisis is a direct confrontation over influence, responsibility, and control. As the United States increases pressure on China to take a more active role in stabilizing maritime security in the Gulf, while Beijing signals firm resistance to any suggestion of military alignment or operational involvement. What makes this moment so significant is not only the subject of the dispute, but the timing. Behind closed doors, preparations are still underway for a high-level diplomatic engagement between the United States and China, a meeting originally designed to stabilize trade tensions, ease technology restrictions, and prevent strategic miscalculation between the world's two largest economies. Instead, that planned diplomatic window is now unfolding under the shadow of a potential energy and security crisis. The Strait of Hormuz remains one of the most strategically sensitive waterways in the global system. A significant portion of global oil shipments passes through this narrow passage, linking Gulf producers to energy-dependent economies across Asia, Europe, and beyond. Any disruption, political, military, or even perceived, has immediate consequences for global markets. And now, that vulnerability has become a focal point in U.S.-China relations. According to discussions emerging from diplomatic circles, Washington has emphasized China's heavy dependence on energy flows through the region, framing it as a shared responsibility to help ensure stability in the strait. This framing has been interpreted by analysts not as routine diplomatic messaging, but as strategic pressure, an attempt to shape Beijing's behavior in a region where it has historically avoided military engagement. China's response, however, has remained consistent with long-standing policy principles: non-intervention, sovereignty, and opposition to external military enforcement roles in regional conflicts. This divergence is now creating a widening gap between two global powers whose economies are deeply interconnected, yet whose strategic doctrines are fundamentally different. As financial markets monitor energy risk indicators and shipping security assessments, the underlying tension is beginning to reflect something larger than a regional dispute. It is becoming a test case for how global power will be exercised in a multipolar world, and who carries responsibility when critical infrastructure becomes a point of geopolitical leverage. The consequences are already being priced in. Oil markets are reacting to uncertainty, shipping routes are under heightened scrutiny, and diplomatic channels are operating under increased urgency to prevent miscalculation. But beneath all of this is a more profound question now shaping the global conversation: whether economic interdependence is enough to prevent strategic divergence between the United States and China, or whether it is precisely what is making this confrontation more sensitive. What happens next will determine not only the stability of a vital energy corridor, but the trajectory of great power relations at a moment when every signal carries global weight. And tonight, we begin breaking down how this situation developed and why the Strait of Hormuz has once again become the center of global attention. To understand how tensions surrounding the Strait of Hormuz escalated into a broader U.S.-China flashpoint, it is necessary to trace the issue back through a layered history of energy dependence, regional instability, and evolving great power competition. The Strait of Hormuz has long been one of the most strategically significant maritime choke points in the world. For decades, it has served as the primary transit route for crude oil exports from Gulf producers to global markets. Its geographic narrowness, combined with its proximity to politically sensitive coastlines, has made it a persistent focal point of international security planning. Historically, instability in the region has been shaped by recurring cycles of tension involving Iran, Gulf states, and external military powers maintaining a presence to ensure freedom of navigation. Each escalation in the region has reinforced a global reality. Energy flows through this corridor are inseparable from geopolitical risk. In earlier decades, the United States played the dominant role in maintaining maritime security in the Gulf. Its naval presence, alliances with regional partners, and enforcement of shipping routes created a security framework that stabilized energy markets, even during periods of regional conflict. However, over time, the global energy map shifted. China's rapid industrial expansion transformed it from a regional consumer into the world's largest energy importer. As a result, its dependence on maritime oil shipments from the Middle East increased significantly. A substantial portion of that supply passes through the Strait of Hormuz, making the corridor indirectly essential to China's economic stability and industrial output. Despite this dependency, Beijing maintained a consistent strategic doctrine: avoid direct military involvement in foreign conflicts, prioritize economic engagement, and resist alignment with security frameworks led by other powers. The current crisis began forming through a series of parallel developments. On one level, Washington has been reassessing global security burdens, increasingly emphasizing the need for shared responsibility among major economic powers in maintaining international stability. Within that framework, China's dependence on Gulf energy routes has been highlighted as a factor that could justify greater involvement in maritime security discussions. On another level, Beijing has continued to expand its economic relationships across the Middle East, including energy trade and infrastructure investment, while carefully avoiding any formal role in military security enforcement. These two trajectories, one emphasizing shared security responsibility, the other emphasizing non-intervention, have gradually moved closer to collision.